Good morning, everybody. I'd like you to get out your homework or that sheet that you just filled out, and we are going to go over it. We're taking the real deal quiz on the quadrilaterals today, and I want to make sure that everything you have been filling out is correct. And I want to make sure that you haven't been doing anything wrong, that you haven't kept doing the same thing and it was wrong and nobody caught on. So I'm going to go through this whole thing. We're going to go through it pretty quickly. I apologize for my poor penmanship. I'll do my best. Okay, so we start with trapezoid. And a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with, and this is the key word that I always think about, is with exactly one set of parallel sides. Parallel sides, okay? A quadrilateral with exactly one set of parallel sides. You do not have to do all caps like I did, but that's just a word that I feel like all of this hinges around. And so anyway, I go trapezoid is quadrilateral with exactly one set of parallel sides. Now when I'm drawing a trapezoid, all I have to do is just, connect a bunch of dots in a row and then go to a different line and connect a different number of dots in a row like that. And then connect the top like that, okay? And all I've done here is I've shown that this right here is parallel to this right here. Now, you don't have to write those parallel symbols unless you want to do it the extra awesome way. Okay, so a trapezoid is quadrilateral with exactly one set of parallel sides. All right, let's move on. Hang on, I don't know where this came from. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, isosceles trapezoid. Isosceles trapezoid starts out the exact same way. It is a quadrilateral with exactly one set of parallel sides, but then it has a kind of like a catch. The non-parallel opposite sides are congruent. Okay, the non-parallel opposite sides are congruent. Get rid of this bullet. I'll have to move that down here. All right. So isosceles trapezoid is quadrilateral with exactly one set of parallel sides. The non-parallel opposite sides are congruent. All right. Special information is, well, the base angles. The base angles are congruent. And the diagonals are congruent. Okay. All right. So to draw this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect a few dots. And then I'm going to go and basically down below that and connect more dots, but I want it to be, an even number more. I did 1, 2, 3, gaps on the top. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gaps on the bottom. And then I can connect those because I want to make sure that these two sides, this one right here and this one right here, are the same length. Okay. And so therefore this is an isosceles trapezoid because those two sides are congruent and exactly one set of parallel sides, and then the non-parallel opposite sides are congruent. Okay, let's go on to kite. Kite is probably the wordiest one, and I know that's a little bit difficult, but that's all right. It is a quadrilateral, and I'm putting quad every time just to abbreviate, make this a little bit shorter. It's a quadrilateral with two sets of adjacent, congruent sides. Comma, there's always a catch. There's no opposite sides are congruent. No opposite sides are congruent. I'm going to put a congruent symbol because I'm running out of room. Okay, no opposite sides are congruent. I bet I could have fit it. But anyway, when you think about a kite, it's probably the wordiest one. And so that makes it a little bit tough. And I don't want you to freak out about that. If nothing else, what I encourage you to do is just kind of look at it. Look at what a kite is and then just describe it. I mean, every one of you can draw a kite. To draw a kite, we connect some dots kind of at an angle, and then we have to do the exact same thing but go in the other direction, like going down. If we went up one way, we got to go down the other way. And then we kind of, follow this midline down to some other dot and connect the other one down to there. Boom. Okay, and that's a kite because this is congruent to this, and this right here is congruent to this right here. And so then if you're struggling with how to define a kite, go, well, look at that. This has 1, 2 sets. Here's a set, and here's a set of congruent, which means the same length, adjacent, which means alongside of it or touching sides. But there's no opposite sides are congruent. And look at that. Because if they were, then it would be a rhombus. We have only one special piece of information. And that is that the diagonals are perpendicular. And you'll see that if you draw the diagonals. If you draw the diagonals, they always create a cross. And you go, right angles, got it. Okay, and now we're down to the easy stuff. Okay, so parallelogram. Parallelogram, what you're going to do is you're going to connect some dots like this. Like here, I went down 3 and over 1. And then I could just go across just about as many as I want. And then again, I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1, and then connect that, okay? And so therefore, because this is horizontal and this is horizontal, those are parallel. And this one, they have the same slope, down 3 over 1. And I learned that parallel lines always have the same slope. So a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with 2 sets of parallel sides. That's pretty easy. Or 2 sets of parallel opposite sides, or 2 sets of opposite sides that are parallel. You just got to have some of those words in there. Okay, it's got 4 special things about it. The 4 special things, man, these are easy. First one, opposite sides are congruent. Opposite angles are congruent. Consecutive angles? What's special about the consecutive angles? Consecutive angles, which would be like, like this one and then this one. Those are angles one after the other. Consecutive angles are always supplementary. Are supplementary. Okay, and lastly, we know that there's something that happens with the diagonals. The diagonals bisect each other. Okay, once you've made it to there, if you've got all the information that's on this page right now, I'm telling you, I don't think it's possible for you to get anything less than a B if you know where to put these 4 pieces of information here on out. Okay, I think, if you got everything right on the first half and then you knew those 4 pieces of information, you're like set for a good grade. Okay, so we think rectangle. Rectangle, I think, is one of the easiest definitions. It's just a quadrilateral with 4 right angles. Can't get much easier than that. Drawing it, really simple. Connect a bunch of dots vertically, connect a bunch of dots horizontally. Boom, there you go. There's your rectangle. And so we start with those first 4 things from parallelogram. Opposite angles, I'm going to kind of move along. Opposite angles are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent. Let's see, diagonals bisect each other. Now, I've had a lot of people just write diagonals bisect. That's not enough. Got to have diagonals bisect each other, and then consecutive angles are supplementary. There, what's up? Okay, now we got this one last thing that only rectangle has, or so far only rectangle has, and that is that the diagonals are congruent. Okay, good. Moving on. Okay, rhombus. Let me just tell you, a lot of people have been drawing a rhombus, and they draw it like this. And that might kind of look like a rhombus, but it's not. That's a parallelogram. These 2 sides, right here and right here, are not the same length. They're close, but they're not the same length. And to be a rhombus, you got to have sides of the same length. So to draw a rhombus, just draw a diamond. You draw a diamond like that. You draw a really fat one. Let's see, where'd I go? 1, 2, yeah, oops. Draw a fat one like this. Didn't mean for that to look like some kind of creepy eye. You can draw a long, skinny one like this. Okay. Something like that. But draw a diamond, because then this side same length as this side, same length as this side, same length as this side. Okay. So what is a rhombus? A rhombus is a quadrilateral with 4 congruent sides, for the sake of time, right? Did the congruent symbol. Okay, it's got 6 special things about it. The first 4 come from parallelogram, which I know that means that opposite angles are congruent and opposite sides are congruent. And I know that diagonals, I wish there was a shortcut for this one. Diagonals bisect, there's not, each other. And then I know that the consecutive angles are what? Supplementary, meaning they add up to be 180. And then rhombus has two special things that it brings to the party, and they're both deal with the diagonals. One is that the diagonals are perpendicular. Perpendicular like a kite. Perpendicular means to intersect at a right angle. Okay, and then the other thing about the diagonals, and this is the wordy one, I know, but the diagonals bisect the angles through which they pass. All right, okay. And then we get to square, and square is so easy because all we have to do is know rectangle and rhombus, and we rake it all together, and we've got square. So square, make sure you draw a square right. It's so funny to me when people draw a square wrong. Okay, so here's my square. This is going to this, going to this, going to this. Got a right angle here, right angle here, right angle here, right angle here. You're welcome to, in your picture, kind of illustrate, show me, some of the defining characteristics, something like this. Defining characteristics of a rectangle. It's got four right angles. So you're welcome to do that. You don't have to, but notice in all these pictures I have. Okay, so what's a square? You all know a square is a quadrilateral with four right angles and four congruent sides. Fantastic. First four special things come from parallelogram. Opposite angles are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent. Let's see, diagonals. This is the one I can't shortcut a whole lot. Diagonals bisect each other. When we know consecutive angles are supplementary. And then we get the one from rectangle, which is that the diagonals are congruent. And then we get the two from rhombus, which both have to do with the diagonals. One is that they're perpendicular. Diagonals are perpendicular. That one's nice and short. Perpendicular. And the other one's wordy. But we're down to the last one. And I say the diagonals, what do? They bisect the angles through which they pass. Okay, make sure these are the ones that you have on your homework. I'm going to have you look over your homework in just a little bit and kind of reread it quietly to yourself. I want to make sure you got these. You got to have these right. Today is the day. Okay, hopefully this made sense. Thank you very much.